Good evening, our distinguished guest, Professor Brian Schmidt, our honorable speaker, Tao Pingru, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Linda Ma from the Chinese Students and Scholars Association, and I'll be your MC for tonight. First of all, I would like to acknowledge and celebrate the first Australians on whose traditional lands we meet, and pay my respects to the elders of the Navajo people, past and present. On behalf of the organizer, Chinese Students and Scholars Association, I would like to extend my warm welcome to all the guests and audience for coming today. I would also like to send my sincere congratulations to ANU for celebrating its 70th anniversary. We are glad to be part of this and be able to witness and share the joy together. On behalf of Chinese Students and Scholars Association, I would like to give my best wishes to our beloved school. I believe we are all here with a reason. Some may be curious about the speech that is going to be delivered by our well-known Vice-chancellor and Nobel Prize in Physics recipients for 2011. Or some may come here with concerns or doubts that they may be thinking for long. Regardless of the reasons, I will assure you that today is going to be a memorable night for all. So now, let us put our hands together and welcome Pingru Tao on stage to deliver his speech. Thank you.
Dear Professor Brian Schmidt, dear Professor Richard Baker, it's my great pleasure to stand here to deliver this speech. And I have to say thank you to Professor Schmidt. This is a great opportunity to us to listen to your insights about university education and understand why the ANU stands in the top 20 university in the world and how ANU is important for our life journey. I first came to Canberra and the ANU in 2013. While I was on the flight, I was so disappointed about what Canberra looks like. It's unbelievable to imagine I will stay here for 3 years or even longer. However, sometimes what you expect is not what you really experience. I met with good homestay, passionate classmates, knowledgeable lecturers, and all CSSA heroes. That's my life in Canberra. On the first day I get into ANU campus, I felt the motto that first to learn the nature of the things was illustrated in all corners in ANU. Even though I have stayed in Canada for 2 years, the field in ANU is unique and remarkable. ANU provided a terrific new opportunity to meet with groups of talented experts to discuss what happened and discuss the discovery what we don't know. In ANU, I didn't have to worry about say something wrong, but the point is that you share your ideas. Hearing different voices, but to be yourself, is what I have learned in ANU. And I do think this is one of the significant factors that contribute ANU come in the top 20 university in the world. ANU just celebrated its 70 years birthday 2 days ago. I would like to thank you all the people who have made predominant contributions to this university. Only 17 years, but ANU has made incredible achievement that other universities have struggled over hundreds of years to achieve. I'm proud of that I have graduated from this brilliant university, and I do hope that one day ANU will become the best university in the world. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please give warm welcome to Professor Schmidt. Come to the stage and say a few words.
like to sit and lecture, so I'm going to try to use this. Hello. Great. Anyway, one of my favorite things about being Vice-Chancellor is getting a chance to come out and talk to students. Because students are right at the core of what a university is about. We talk about research, yes, but ultimately we exist to educate people. The biggest thing we bring to the world are the students we educate, and that's you. And so because of that, I want to make sure that I understand what you're thinking, what you're liking, and what you're not liking. As Vice-Chancellor, I can't fix everything immediately, but over time, if I understand the issues, I can make things better and better and better. And that is ultimately my goal. So a little bit about myself. I, like all of you, came from some part of the world a long ways away from here. I grew up in Alaska, and Canberra is one of the largest cities I've ever lived in. It's a big city. I live out on a farm because Canberra's getting too big. I grew up in small little towns, equivalent to a rural town that presumably a few of you have grown up in. And I had parents who also grew up on a farm, but were farmers. And I was a good student, but I wasn't the best student in my school. I was one of the best students. And when I went off and said I would study physics, my science teachers were a little concerned because many of the smartest students before me in my university, or in my high school, had gone on to study physics and failed. But they also acknowledged that I was an unusual student. I did a lot of things. In high school, yes, I did my math and my science, but I also did English literature, I did drama, I played the French horn, and the first time I visited Canberra was in 1985, and I played at the Llewellyn School of Music as part of the Anchorage Youth Symphony. So I did athletics, I did lots of things, and I lived life. And that is part of who I am. I'm always someone who's happy to do lots of things. And I'm prepared to fail at things and be proud of it. I try not to fail spectacularly. I try to fail and then move on and be proud of it and have a little giggle, and that's okay. And one of the things I'm hoping you're learning here is that's a characteristic not just of me, but it's a characteristic of ANU and Australians. And so I'm hoping you're getting part of that as your studies here. My university education, I did not go to a school as good as ANU. I went to the University of Arizona, which was known as a party school of U.S. national renown. There was a movie filmed right as I was arriving there called Revenge of the Nerds. Go look it up, Revenge of the Nerds, 1984-85. That's where I went to school, and they really didn't have to do much to the school because they just filmed it as it was. Anyway, you'll have to see the movie to truly understand. And I worked very hard there. I wasn't really sure, I wasn't very happy, if I'm honest, especially my first year. And so I just worked hard and went around and went into one of the departments and said, I'd like to do some work with you. And they're like, oh, I have no money. I said, I don't care, I don't need to be paid. I'm just happy to do it. Oh, okay, novel idea. And so they gave me a desk, and I started working, and they ended up eventually paying me because I was valuable. But much more valuable for me was the fact that that person was a very famous astronomer, and the reason I went to the University of Arizona is they had a very good astronomy department. And that person went through and gave me the introductions to many of the great astronomers of the world, and that allowed me to go on and get into graduate school, and that allowed me to become an astronomer in the end. I never thought for sure I would be an astronomer. Indeed, I quite thought I would not be an astronomer. But I knew my education would teach me many things. It would teach me the science I was passionate about. I would learn some engineering, I would learn some computer science. I would learn all these things that would get me a job somewhere in life. And that was a very smart thing to think, because it's kind of hard to say there's only 3,000 astronomers in the world when I started in 1985, and to think that I would be able to become one of them was, well, would have been naive. And so I never did think I would become one. I wanted to become one, but I always figured that was unlikely. I didn't know what I was going to become, but I wanted to give myself lots of options. We live in a world which is changing very quickly. You have seen a change, because you've grown up in the fastest changing part of the world, in China. And so you appreciate change more than Australians, because your peers here from Australia have not seen change like you have seen. And that gives you a big advantage, because you know what's coming, because this change is going to continue. And your peers here in Australia don't truly appreciate it. They still think things are going to be sort of same old, same old, same old. And so when you're here, you really need to be thinking not about what your first job is. You need to be thinking, how am I going to approach my life for 10, 20, 30, 40 years? How am I going to make sure I keep on being able to do something interesting? And while life is not all about your job, it is an important thing, because it's not good to be unemployed. And the good news is, by coming here, you have made it much easier for yourself not to be unemployed in the future. So when I look out to you, I encourage you to do a couple of things. One of which, yes, do well in your classes, work hard. That's not, I'm guessing, not a big problem for most of you. I mean, I know the classes can be hard, but I think my guess is you're not the crowd who decides never ever to attend class and then complains about failing. My guess is you actually do show up to your classes. If you don't, please do. But I want you to do more than that. I want you to look around and do things beyond just going to classes. I don't know what that is, because it's going to depend on who you are. That means taking maybe a class that doesn't exactly fit in to your major or to your course of study. It means doing some sort of activity, extracurricular activity, that's not exactly what you're used to doing. You can go do dragon boat races if you haven't done those, or hiking in the mountains, whatever. Do things that are a little different, that make you a little uncomfortable. Because that's important, because in life, you're going to have to do some things that are challenging, that feel a little uncomfortable if you're going to succeed. And you might as well start practicing now. But it's kind of fun, and if you figure out how to do it, it becomes incredibly powerful. Because it's fun to learn new things. And when I came to ANU, or even before, every year I would say, I'm going to learn something new. And, you know, that's hard. A new programming language, new way of doing something. You know, every year, do something I'm just not very good at, or I want to learn how to do. So I took, for example, for no particular reason, as an undergraduate, I took Russian. 3 years of Russian. It was really hard. Not as hard as Chinese, not as hard as Mandarin, but it was hard. And I was the only person in third year Russian who was not, I was the only person who that was not their main area of study. So I had all these people who were taking 4 classes of Russian, and I was taking 1. And it was hard, but you know, that was good for me. And I almost got the equivalent of, I had good grades, and I almost did not get a good grade in the 3rd year. And there was no way I was going to survive year 4. But I did it for as long as I could do it. So be prepared to be brave. Be prepared to be bold. Now, that means realizing there's lots of opportunities here at this university if you ask, or you just get out and do things. You will make things happen. So what do I mean? I mean, for example, maybe you do want to do research of some description. Well, no one's going to come up and say, who wants to do a research project in my class? But if you go up to the person and say, I'd really like to do something, or I'd really like to have this opportunity, it can be a research project, it can be an opportunity of anything that looks interesting to you. It's okay to ask. Because if you don't ask, it will not happen. Okay? And so I encourage you to take the risk. And the worst thing they're going to say is, sorry, I can't help you at this time. But they'll be impressed that you were prepared to ask. Because most people in this university aren't prepared to ask. So be prepared to think about things. Ask questions. It's okay to go through and say, what do you think about this? Where this might be a question that you think your professor or someone knows something about and may not even be part of the class you're taking. That's okay. It's okay to ask for help about, I want to become, whatever. I want to get a job in this type of industry. What do I need to do? Ask for advice. Ask for help. The staff here want to help you. They really do. But they can't read your mind and what's interesting to you. So go out of your way. From my perspective, I took the job as Vice-chancellor not because it's a fun job. It's a hard job. But it's a very important job for an institution that I'm really passionate about. I want this university to get better and better because universities are so important. If you look back to China, I am watching how the universities are just central to the new China about making sure that life gets better and better and better in China. ANU serves that role here in Australia as well. And it did it in 1946 when we were born, and we'll do it into the future. If we're going to go through and figure out how to have 8, 9 billion of us live on Earth, we got a lot of problems to solve. And some of it's about engineering, some of it's about how to live with each other appropriately, some of it's about how to enjoy life with maybe a little less. These are questions that are quite complicated. We also need to make sure we are able to, take those resources that we have on Earth and do something useful with them. And hopefully that means that in many of your skills, many of you will go out, get good jobs that pay well, and you will actually use what you've learned here. And so I want to make sure you get a great experience here. Not just an okay experience, a great experience. I want us to make sure the staff you get to be taught by are world leaders, not just at research, but at also teaching. And I've got some way, I'm not there yet. I haven't got all my staff to be great teachers yet, but I'm working on it. I want you, when you come to ANU, to be amongst a whole range of students from around the world, around Australia, who you can talk and learn from. Okay? And I need to figure out ways to do that better. And I'm going to be curious, because we'll have a chance to ask lots of questions here. I'm just curious your ideas about how I can do these things. Because in the end, when you come here, I want you to have opportunities to go out and do what you want in life. My goal is to empower you to do what you want in life. Not what I want, what you want. And that's quite varied, but that's my ultimate goal with you here. And that means learning from some of the best people, but also realizing that the people you're going to learn most from are each other. And the better you guys are all doing together, the better you will do in the future. You will know and have a chance to learn from people in a whole range of different fields, not just the one you're studying. You'll get a chance then to figure out, oh, I have to solve this problem maybe that guy who's doing statistics is going to be able to help me with this problem, in finance or in business or in science or in, sociology. And I want to make sure that when you do leave this university, that you know it's always here to help you in the future. The whole idea of a university alum is that you have us as a resource. So, no matter where you are, end up in the world, whether it be here in Australia, back in China, the United States, Europe, wherever, you'll get a chance to see me in the future. Unless I get replaced or something as Vice-chancellor, probably won't happen. Hopefully too quickly, but we shall see. This network of people are there to be supporting you and your dreams in the future. You can have a network of people you can ask questions of. It's quite interesting to see where people end up after 10 years. You end up with people who are running banks to, people who are doing very, great things, with poor in Africa and everything in between. And you can help each other fulfill your own dreams. And I think that's a really important part that we also want to emphasize. So I think, my strategy of how to make ANU great is very simple. Make sure that we have one of the best student groups and we treat them better than anyone else. We're working on that. We're not there yet, but that's the goal. Having and attracting some of the best staff and treating them well. And then making it possible so that when people have opportunities to change the world based on what they know and what they've learned outside the university. And that means giving you connections into the outside world. So some of you have discussed the idea of we need to be able to have internships. And I agree, not just you. Every student at ANU needs to have the opportunity to go out, if they want, and have a chance to be an intern. Now, I can't do that overnight, but I'm working towards that over the next couple years to be able to start offering that. At first, it will probably be offered to those who do well in classes, not the best, but do well. And I'm trying to get as many opportunities of there as I can. Okay, so I know that's important to you, but it's also important to me. And that is something that will benefit everyone. But if there's other things like that that you're interested in, you should let me know. So I think I will open it up to questions, if that's okay. And we'll let it go. So raise your hand and away we go. Great. Let's see. Who's got the microphone? Yeah.
First?
You can go first, and we'll make sure you're number two.
Thank you.
So agent plays a very important role in overseas students. Like they tend to describe university as a commercial product that students can buy to buy a highlight in your resume so that you can get a good job. And universities serve students like consumers, and they pay salary to agents to get more students. So what's your opinion on this university education industry and commercial scene?
Yeah. So agents, one of the challenges we have is that China is a very big and diverse country. And it is very difficult for us as ANU to go out and try to do things all on our own. We don't have the relationships, we don't have enough people to go out there. And so that is why we use agents. But it's how you use agents and what you use them for. And so we have been looking at this because I was somewhat mortified about how we used agents and how Australian universities sometimes use agents, which is you are just a person and we don't care. So my goal is I need to use agents at some level or else I'm not going to be able to even meet the students. But to say, no, we care about who we want. We want to have a relationship with people, and we want to give people who want to come to ANU because it's ANU a great experience here. And it's not how many people, it's the quality, right? And that's a change. So I'm saying we're going to, we're not going to, we're getting plenty of students now. What I want to do is to focus on the students we get, right? And I want to make sure that in doing that, we provide you a great experience here. So hopefully you'll say, yeah, this is a good place to go. And so that it's not just anyone who comes to the door who the agent can get through. Rather, we're using them, we're using our own people as well to make sure we get the right fit. So we get people here who are going to thrive, who want to be here because of what we are, rather than just, this is the best deal I could get on the day. So it's a different mentality, okay? And I understand your concern, and I share it. But that's not what I see you as. I do not see you as a commercial product. I see you as a student, right? And I mean that. I see you as someone, I want to come here, and I want you, when you leave here, to go out and change the world the way you want to change it. That's the way you are, you are everyone. And if I don't do that, then I have failed. Okay?
Good evening, Professor Brian Schmidt. I have a question about international opportunities. There are many international programs only for domestic students in ANU, such as some in Tokyo. Can ANU give more such opportunities for international students? And how can ANU connect with other top universities in the world? Thanks.
Okay, Richard, you're going to have to tell me, why do we only give, are international opportunities restricted to Australian students? There might be a visa reason, the only reason I could think of it.
Yeah, but my knowledge is most opportunities are open to all students. So the International Alliance Research Universities, I'm sure Brian would talk about, it's a group of 10, and we have exchanges with all those. But if you tell me which programs international students aren't eligible for, you can let me know. But there's some, as Brian says, around visa restrictions. That's as a fundamental, if you're being restricted, ever, as a general rule, if there are things that as students, international students, Chinese students, you are being restricted from doing of any nature whatsoever, let Richard know. He's in charge of student experience. And there are some things I can't fix, but if I can fix them, we will. And if we can't fix them, we'll let you know why. But, for example, international experience, you should be given the same opportunities as everyone. We have a number of opportunities. Some of them are with our IRU universities, but actually we have agreements with about 500 universities. I encourage you to be selective because some of those universities are better than others. And if I was going to do an international exchange, I would go to an interesting university rather than a foreign one. Okay? So, yeah. Other questions? Yeah. Next.
Yeah, we know ANU always cares about students' life, but in fact, the demand for students' residence on campus is far more beyond the accommodation offered by UU Lodge. Actually, only the first year undergraduates can have the guarantee. So I want to ask, how does the ANU have to address this issue? And will ANU build a new residential hall? And if yes, when could the new hall start serving students and the relevant fee?
Okay, so on our 70th birthday, I made a commitment that we will meet
every student's accommodation needs on this campus by 2021. Now, I know that's a long time, but it takes a couple, 3 years to build a place. So what's happening? We are going to be opening what is known as SA5. That's 500 beds. We are going to be then opening the Tuckwell accommodation, which is 800 beds. We will be putting beds in for the Union Court redevelopment. And so I'm building them up as fast as I can, and my goal is 100%. But even with 500 extra beds that we're going to have in the near future, that's going to make a huge difference, okay? So I have told my team as fast as we can do it, but it does take time, okay? Next year will be better than, well, it's going to be tight next year as well, I'm afraid. Because there is this big demand, I agree. As I said, I'm going as fast as I can build them, but there are limits to what I can do, okay? But my goal is within 5 years to solve it. Doesn't help you, but it'll help the people who come in. Okay? Although 2 years from now, it'll be a lot better. Right. In the back.
Yeah, dear Professor, my question is about the financial fees. Because as we all know, as a top 20 university in the world, it should be a fair place for students to study. But as I know, the school fees for the domestic students and international students are different. My question is it possible for ANU to apply this domestic students and international students fee are equal in the future?
So, it is certainly true, if you go to Harvard University, the fees for domestic and international students are the same, $64,000 US a year. So it's 100,000 Australian dollars a year. So we could make it equal, but it's likely to be more expensive for everyone. That is the theory known as deregulation. One of the reasons that fees are different here for Commonwealth places, those are the Australian places, is that the Australian government puts in a lot of money on behalf of Australian students. Now that's not the entire difference, but it's more than half to 2/3 of it. All right? So, for example, I get roughly, the Commonwealth puts $15,000 in for an Australian student, which I don't get. The Chinese government does not put that in. So, until that changes, it will be very difficult. And the way it would change is if we had a deregulated market, like, for example, private universities in the United States have. But I warn you, as I said, it's $64,000 to go to Harvard, US. So that may not be to your benefit. If you go, University of Arizona, fees are different from in-state and out-of-state. So I had to pay, like you, when I went to the University of Arizona, 3 times more than the people who lived in Arizona. So if you went to Arizona, it would be the same thing. And you will find, going to the University of Arizona will cost, at current exchange rates, almost exactly as ANU. And I promise you, we're a much better institution than they are. If you go to Berkeley, which is arguably, a great institution, you're going to pay 50% more unless you're a California resident, which makes it much cheaper. So Oxford, Cambridge, schools across the UK, this is the same. The only universities where this really is not true are the universities of Europe. So why have they done that? Well, at this point, if I can be cynical, the reason they've done it, made things free at this point for international students, is they have almost none of them. Because most of you do not speak French or German or Spanish. And if you do want to, the educations are free there, but almost no one's taking it up. So what I do want to do is to start a larger scholarship program. Now, I don't have enough money to give each and every one of you scholarships, but right now we're not giving out enough scholarships, in my opinion. And so we need to start doing that. And so that is one of the focuses we're going to have going forward, is to raise money to provide more scholarships so that we can get more interesting people from around the world and not have it just be the people who can afford to come here. Okay? So I would love to be able to offer anyone who we wanted to come to ANU a scholarship based on their ability to pay. I don't have enough money to do that yet, but I'm working on it. Okay? And it will be difficult to do that for international students unless we get a lot of money. But I want to start, at least getting some of the groups out there.
Thank you for your speech. And my name is Ivan. I'm currently in Actuarial Studies. I have a question about the internship. And do you think it's important to get an internship as an undergraduate student? And what is key point to get an internship?
So I think internships I never had an internship except for I volunteered. So my internship is me going into that lab and volunteering. I think that if you have an opportunity to be an intern, that's a good thing because it allows you to see how what you're learning works in a business or government or nonprofit environment. So you can then, when you come back, see better of how what you learn, how it's working in practice. That'll change the way you look at your studies. Right now, I bet most of you go through and think of your studies as your exams. I never actually thought, I was weird. I never thought of my studies as my exams. The exams usually took care, I studied very little for exams. What I did is I made sure I understood what I was taught. And I figured the exams would look after themselves. Because what you learn is the important bit. And if you have an internship, when I did my research, I went through and did a bunch of weird courses because I needed to know statistics and I needed to know numerical methods from a computational point of view. I was the only person taking that in physics. And that's what I used to win the Nobel Prize. Because I worked for free in a research lab and I could see what was important. And those were hard classes. They were mathematicians only. But I knew it was important. You get a chance to do an internship, even if only a few weeks, then you get a chance to see what's important. And it allows you to, I think, better understand what's important here at the university. So it's not essential, but very useful. And the good news is that if the employer really, really likes you, they'll often figure out a way to get you a job when you finish. That's another good thing.
Honorable Professor, and we all know different universities have different characters and cultivate different various students. And my question is, what the most important personality is supposed to be owned by AU students, which differ from other students? Thank you.
Okay, that's a very good question. So, the Vice-chancellor doesn't just get to say, be this. What he can do is he can look around and say, how do we differ than other universities? So we differ in a number of ways. From Australian universities, we're much more collegiate. That is, we hang together We live together on campus. You have a chance to go see your professors in a way that your colleagues who go to University of Melbourne, University of New South Wales, University of Sydney do not get to. Or ones who go to Tsinghua and Beijing. I said I get to go there as well. I get to talk to them. They love the fact that you have to get a selfie with me. I don't know. It's kind of old for. I think you would get bored of that. But anyway, so that collegiality, I think, is one of the great things about this institution, and that's why I'm telling you, is I know most of you are probably not using that as much as you might. You need to get out and talk to your friends. And the staff, and really, find out the things you need to know, but do that yourself. More broadly, if you go to an institution like Harvard, which I know well, Harvard is a very collegiate institution for students as well. So how are we different than Harvard? Australians they have a different way of looking at the world. An Australian student will say, if you have bad luck, I'm still going to support you. Harvard students and American students tend to be they'll take the risk, and they will have to be supported by families or something, their family, if they fail. No one's going to pick them up. Society doesn't pick you up when you're down. It's your family and friends who do, close family and friends. In Australia, if you're down, society will pick you up. Everyone will pick you up. It really is this, everyone deserves a fair go. Where in the United States, those collegiate institutions, it's much more a winner takes all, very competitive, and if you fall down, well then, okay, that's one more person I don't need to worry about. Okay? And it's not completely like that, but there's a much more of a mentality there. Where I grew up, in Alaska and Montana, rural parts, we were much more pick people up. But I was unusual at Harvard, okay? So I see that as being that collegiality, where we're here together to help. We don't like, the negative part about Australians is we don't like people getting too far out in front. People who are really way out there, we tend to drag them, try to slow them down, and keep them in the group, and that's a bad thing about Australia. Americans just let them go. But Australians do not. But the good part is, no one left behind. That's an important part of our culture. In the back? Yep.
Thank you. Hello, Professor. My question is very simple. So, what do you think we should learn from university?
That's all. Thank you. Okay, what should you learn from university? Well, I've sort of given the answer to that. And the answer is how to do what you want to do in life. If you want to make a lot of money, it's overrated in my opinion, but if you want to make a lot of money, figure out the skills you need to do that. The best way to do that is to look at the people who do make a lot of money and what skills they have. Learn the things. You want to be a great scientist, learn the skills that'll make you that. If you want, to be someone who, you name what you want to do. But in the end, it's got to be your choice. What I need to do is provide the options to you, for you to choose from, so that you can do what you want in life. And it's not my job to figure out what you should do. That's your job. And that's why I said I want you to not just do your classes. I want you to say, I got all these things at this university that I'm not using and doing. which of those are going to be useful for me? And I'm going to do them. That's for you to do. Okay? As simple as that.
Evening, Professor. I've got a question in regards to your winemaking. I was lucky enough to acquire one bottle of your Pinot about 5 years ago. And however...
How did you hit that, by the way?
From University House.
Oh, well
from
done,
the
well
BC
done, yes.
collection. And I haven't been able to see another bottle in the past 3 years. And I was wondering, would you be able to make more of those beautiful Pinots? And another question is, what has led you onto this winemaking business? Yeah.
Good question. So let me do the second question first. In 1999, I had just discovered the accelerating universe. I had a short-term position at ANU, but I had figured out that the accelerating universe seemed to be a good thing. It looked like I was probably going to be able to keep a job at ANU, which the year earlier was not at all obvious to me. And I'm married to an economist, a very good economist, and we decided it was time to live out of town. So we were looking at places around Canberra where we could live that were relatively close by. And we found this place. It had a terrible house on it, but it was a beautiful piece of land. And it was this perfect place to put a vineyard. Now, on my first date with my wife in Boston, when we were both PhD students at Harvard, she showed me the wine list and said, "What should we have?" And I was like, I had no idea. I didn't drink wine, at least not much wine. And she looked at me and said, "Okay, if you're going to date an Australian, you need to learn something about red wine." So I worked very, very hard on that. And so I became very interested in red wine. So in 1999, I said, wouldn't it be cool? I have an opportunity here in Canberra to do something I literally cannot do any place else in the world where I can be a great astronomer, which is have a vineyard within a 30-minute drive on a postdoc salary from one of the top 10, astronomy departments in the world. And my wife was, I thought we were going to use our extra money to fix the house. And I said, yeah, we can get to that eventually. And my wife was normally very sensible, said, yeah, okay. And for whatever reason, she allowed us to go through and put a lot of money and effort into putting this winery in. And my argument was quite simple to her. The accelerating universe is big, and it's going to completely take over my life. And I'm going to get offers, probably to get jobs around the world. I want to stay in Canberra because I love this place. And there are institutions with more money than ANU, but there's never been an institution I like as much as ANU. And I want to have an excuse to stay here. And if we get to do this, I promise you, I will turn down any offer that any institution gives me. That was the deal, more or less. I don't think she believed me, but I was actually very serious. So that's why we got into winemaking. Because it's something for me to do with my hands that keeps astronomy from taking over my life. The Vice-chancellorship has actually, I would say, been quite interesting in trying to keep the winery going sensibly. In terms of getting wine, the problem is I do it myself. So I have 1.1 hectares of grapes. Canberra isn't normally this wet. It's hard to produce a great crop. And so there's a limited supply. The good news is, there's 14 is going to be challenging. There's a fair bit of wine, but not enough for everyone. 2015, I have a whole bunch more wine than normal.
Can I come
So,
to the office and pick up?
Pardon?
Can I come to the office and pick a case up?
Yeah, well, it will be available. It will be available, and if you get on the web, you'll be fine. You'll get one. But you'll have to be relatively quick. I sold out in 2 hours last year. Okay, so sorry, that's all I can do. I could raise the prices up so it's so expensive you won't be able to pay for it. I don't want to do that. I want it to make it accessible.
when would it go on sale?
Look on the website starting the 1st of October, and then you will see the date that I released it about that.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's first in, best dressed, if you're not a gold or a silver member.
Hi, sorry, time is running short, so we'll take one last question.
I reckon I got 2 questions.
Okay.
Good evening, dear Schmidt. As all we know nowadays, more and more Chinese students choose to study in Australia. We expense so much money and far away from our hometown. So I want to ask him, what are the different things you think we can get in this place and take back to China to change our homeland?
Okay. So what I'm hoping as your education here is you get a number of things. You get an education which is from some of the top scholars in the world. I hope you get a really interesting group of people and peers to learn from, who you can do things with your entire life. These people here should be some of your friends, but they'll also be your business partners, the people who you work with. You also are going to get, if I get mine right, the opportunity to understand how Australian business works, how maybe Australian government works or whatever, through internships. And in the end, I hope that because of these things, you will get a degree, again, that allows you to do what you want in life better than other degrees. So that's my goal, is I want to make sure that you leave here with more opportunities than anyone else at any other Australian university. Okay? The same opportunities that the best universities in the world have. That's my goal. And I think that's already true, but I'm going to make it so it's much, much more obvious to you over time. Again, getting back here, you're not someone, you're not a dollar sign. You're a student. I want to thrive, just like every other student here. That is my goal, right? And the goal is to have not more students in the future, but I want to have people who are more aligned to wanting to be here, because that'll make life better for all of us. And of course, if I make this institution greater and greater, your degree turns out becoming more and more valuable in the future as well. So that's also the goal. All right, I think we have time for just a couple more. Who's got the microphone? He or she who has the microphone wins in this game. I think we'll go here, and then we'll go there. And I'll have a chance to come out and see you again sometime.
Good evening, Professor. I have a very personal question,
Sure.
which I am thinking about these days. There are 2 ways for you to choose. The first way is which you dream for maybe for years, but it's very hard to pass. Many people tell you even you take many years, you still can't get what you want. You still maybe you will fail on that way. The second way is which is easier to pass, and you are maybe it's more suitable for you, and you can do better on this way, and you still have a bright future. So which way will you choose and why? Thank you so much.
Okay, so I always believe that if you think you can predict your future, you're a fool. Okay? What you need to think, if you think there's a safe way, then my guess is you're putting in peril. You may get the next 5 years fine, but you're trying to get an education that's going to be good 40 years from now. So what is the best way to prepare yourself for the future? That is to get really good at something, and the only way to get really good at something is to really care about it, to be passionate about it. So don't do something hard because it's hard. Do something it's hard because you're passionate about it. If something is relatively easy and you're passionate about it, that is also good, because it turns out if it's easy, lots of people are going to do it, and you're going to have to be really, really good at it. So do what you're passionate about, not what's hard or easy. Do what your gut feeling says is the thing you really care about. And then I think you always do the right thing. Do not believe that by making a decision right now for a job, your first job, that's the right decision. I promise you it's more than likely the wrong decision. Because all the jobs you're going to get in your first year are not going to exist in 20 years. Every single one of them. So you need to be thinking longer term. So one last question, and then we'll stop.
Good to meet you. Good to meet you, Professor Schmidt. As I know, many of the people I meet, they are afraid to come to ANU because Canberra is such a small, quiet city. So they choose to go to University of Sydney or University of Melbourne. And like, I was thinking, does ANU have any thought to have a campus outside of ACT region rather than stay here? If the budget is allowed.
So I have asked that question, and it comes down to, what do I stand for? I have the ability to attract more students here than I can handle. What do I want to be? I want to be great. Greatness is not being big, necessarily. We're the same size as Harvard. We're the same size as Cambridge. We are smaller than the University of Arizona. A lot smaller. We're a lot smaller than any of the other big universities in Australia. So the answer is, I could make lots of money by opening a campus. But then people become dollar signs, rather than me being able to give you the best possible experience. So the answer is, I'm not really keen to do it, unless I can do it in a way where I am making that campus provide greatness. Greatness of experience for you, greatness of research, greatness of outreach. And my experience is that's very, very difficult. So I would probably only do it in partnership with someone, and only under, I don't see any reason to do that right now. And the fact that some people are not prepared to come to Canberra, that's fine. That's a good reason for them to go somewhere else. It's fine. All right, we'll stop there.
Thank you, Professor Schmidt, and all participating students for this insightful question and answer session. Let us put our hands together and thank Professor Schmidt one more time. Dear Professor Schmidt, please come on to the stage as the President of Chinese Students and Scholars Association would like to present you a token of appreciation for your coming today. Please.
Seeing and talking to you on a regular basis. And if you got ideas, there's your man to send them to. Richard.baker@anu.edu.au or pbc.ue@anu. And we do talk. So when you send him things, he tells me about it. So don't think I don't know about it. Thank you, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Schmidt and Piru Tao. Before I begin my task of bringing this excellent event to an end, I'm sure you would all like to join me in thanking our distinguished guest and honorable speaker for coming today and deliver these wonderful speeches. And all our Chinese Students and Scholars Association members and volunteers for their efforts in making these events possible. Let us give them a big round of applause. I believe we have learned a lot today, and I believe the stories of our distinguished guests has influenced you and me in one way or another. We hope that the insights that you received today and the influence that you have do not just stop here. We sincerely hope that this positive influence will go on with you and empower you to make changes for the better and to push yourself for greater excellence. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and we wish to see you again next year. Thank you and good night.